Hey, good afternoon. Scott Luton, Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Greg, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Feeling pretty full. How about you?
Yes, we still have some leftovers. We're still working our way through, but I had a wonderful time with the family across the Thanksgiving holiday and hope you did too.
Yeah, it was great at our house. A little bit lighter group than usual. So my sister stayed home in San Diego. My brother stayed home in Indy, and my other brother stayed home in Boston.
Nice.
And we're going to bring one of his neighbors on here later, but I don't want to
Right.
spoil the surprise.
Yes. Well, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. We've got a
Okay,
great
go ahead.
featured guest today. We're going to be featuring Guy with Six River Systems, friend of the show. A lot of good stuff we're going to be diving into, as you might imagine, especially from an e-commerce standpoint. So stay tuned for that about 12:25. But the rest of the time, it's all about supply chain buzz, where Greg and I touch on some of the most meaningful and impactful developments across global supply chain. We broadcast live every Monday at 12 noon, Greg. Hard to believe. You know, let's throw Clay and Amanda, who makes it all happen, a little curveball. I wonder how many episodes we've got under our belt dating back to the first iteration of the Supply Chain Buzz, where it was
Of
more
the
of a
buzz.
it's like a 12-minute rundown. Solo.
Yeah.
Not nearly as fun,
I think
Greg.
you did the first few,
Right.
right? Solo. And were they weren't video, right?
No, it was just,
They were effectively a podcast, if I
right.
recall. Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
Not nearly as fun. But and to that point, speaking of fun, we've got
Yeah.
our audience
comes
here with
our
us.
whole fun group, right?
That's right. Of course, we've got Chris Barnes here with us. We've got Jeff Miller. Tom Raftery says, hey, for once, he's early and we're late.
That's all part of the game, Tom.
That is right. M-Boy, hello to all suppliers, he says. Let's see. Gary Smith is with us. It's raining up there in Long Island. Gary, hope this finds you well. Kartik is with us. Good day to you. T Squared is with us as well. He's holding down YouTube, holding down the fort over at YouTube, Greg.
Yeah.
Of course, Pratik, great to have you back with us, Pratik, via LinkedIn. And hello and good morning to everyone else. One final one. I have not spoken. Sneha, I hope this finds you well. It's been a little while since we last connected. Great to have you back as part of our live stream here. All right. So, Greg, one quick programming note before we dive into the leadoff story here. If you enjoyed the live stream, check out our podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Today, we published, it was a replay of Mike Griswold with Gartner, his last appearance here on a live stream. And as always, Greg, Mike brings it, right?
Yeah. It's actually good for me to go back and, because we're doing the show, right? So it's really good for me to go back and just listen, not have to, focus on what's the next logical thing to say. And man, he does bring it big time.
Every time. Chris wants to know, how about them Chiefs, Greg? They pulled one off against a talented Tampa Bay Bucks team yesterday, right?
Yeah. Forced 2 picks by Tom Brady. That's not unusual. Honestly, the Chiefs have had Brady's number for a lot of years.
Yeah, that's right. I think your quarterback is 4-0 against Tom Brady, right?
He's now even with him.
Okay.
But that counts 2018 when D Ford, whose name I will never speak ever again, now that I've said it, lined up off sides when the game should have been over.
Gotcha.
But then we stomped his guts out in the Super Bowl when he went to San Francisco. So I'm not bitter.
Oh, not bitter at all. And hello, Matthew from Ottawa, Canada. Great to have you back with us here today. Oh, Kim Winter. Man, Kim Winter is up early or up late. Regardless, yeah. He's with us here on the front end. And Kim, enjoyed the session you led at the supply chain conference in recent weeks. And then finally, Sylvia Judy, the jam queen of America. I think we deem a new title for her just about every live stream. She's based in Charleston, South Carolina, and great to have you with us here, Sylvia. All right, so Greg, are you ready to get down to business?
Yeah, let's talk about what's going on in supply chain.
Yes. Now, the theme today, Greg, is going to be kind of a Black Friday breakdown, right? We learn so much every year, it seems, from one of the bigger shopping days of the year. And of course, here in recent years, it just basically extended with Cyber Monday. But tell us, you've got an interesting article here from CNBC. Give us some news.
Yeah, I think because we just had Black Friday here in the States, it's a good time to start working the supply chain from the consumer end and the retail end back into the supply chain, because virtually everything that can be done to make goods available for the consumer has long ago been done. And now the die are cast, and now we all just wait or pine for consumers to buy from us. And actually, this article from CNBC opens with pretty catastrophic number for e-commerce sales, but in-store shopping dropped 52% on Black Friday. And that basically what the issue is, of course, is this is year-over-year numbers from a company called Sensormatic Solutions. Traffic in retail stores is expected to be down as much as 25% this year, this entire year versus last year. And obviously, this is a huge delta. We were just talking offline before we came on. Nobody diving over tables, nobody waiting in line, pounding on the door, trying to get in. Maybe in some rare instances that was the case, but even with social distancing, the lines looked much longer than they were, and that's a common refrain from the articles that I read that were adjacent to this. Right. Jewelry and footwear were down a tremendous amount. Why? I don't know why. Jewelry, the divorce rate is way up, so maybe guys are just not apologizing anymore, and nobody's walking anywhere, so you don't need shoes. But just to give you an idea, apparel sales were down 50%. My guess is that the 50% was about flat on tops and zero on anything you wear below the waist, because what difference does it make? Right. And home goods also fell 39%, but I'm not sure that that's an indication of overall sales, because here's what Brian Field said. Brian Field, who I forgot what companies from, I think maybe Sensormatic. Shoppers are spreading out their shopping throughout the holiday season. We've seen that. Yep. Because of concerns about social distancing and the pandemic, e-commerce deliveries were delayed and costs increased, and the strain has not subsided really over the last 8 or so months. So I think we're seeing that, and anecdotally hearing that people are spreading out their shopping. I can tell you that I'm not, and I am going to be a large proponent of buy online, curbside pickup. I have a feeling, because some of the things that I want to buy are out of season. They've been difficult to find. But look, malls looked bleak. The parking lots were more empty than full. And this quote from Field, I felt like was really important. This Black Friday looked more like a Saturday after Black Friday than an actual Black Friday, which is the traffic is half or less of what a Black Friday looks like. But online spending did jump almost 22% to hit a new record of over $9 billion in online purchases. That makes 2020 or Black Friday 2020 the largest online spending day in U.S. history. Wow. So, and get this little tidbit. States with gathering restrictions for the holidays saw a greater online surge. So you weren't calling your family when you were alone at home on Thanksgiving, but maybe you were shopping for them.
So really some interesting observations there.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. On top of all the other buying patterns and behaviors and preferences we've been talking and discussing for months now, this is like a grand experiment, this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So I appreciate you sharing some of the things that the retailers are seeing.
Well, and I think this is something we could have predicted, was a lot of online activity. I'm not sure that anyone could have predicted a 52% drop in
foot traffic,
in store sales, right?
Well, so we've got some great comments here from the audience. I'm going to zoom through here, Greg. Let's see here. Sylvia's coined today, happy month in Monday. Agreed, Sylvia. And it's been a good month, November. Let's see here. Karen Tucker, first time listener. Great to have you here, Karen. Let us know where you are listening from. It would be interesting. Sneha says LA is going back in lockdown starting today. After all the Black Friday shopping, the numbers going up here.
So people were actually out shopping in LA. That's interesting.
Yep. Let's see. David is here, of course. And he says, and here we have stores having to block off non-essential items as they are no longer allowed to sell them. Wow. Let's see here. Amanda. Okay. So
I wonder what that means. I don't know what that means exactly. I'm interested in that.
Yeah. So David, if you can elaborate a little bit more on what you're seeing, that'd be great. Amanda says she's been spreading out her online shopping, but feel pressured to go ahead and finish my shopping now since I've already experienced shipping errors and delays. Interesting, Amanda. You have to give us a story or two.
Hey, quick also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Tom says, unfortunately, here in Spain, lots of news reports were talking about how the main city centers were crowded with shoppers, so they have not seen the downturn in foot traffic.
So
go ahead.
Populations are a lot more dense in Europe, obviously, a lot more people in less space. So I could see where that could happen. And they had at one point Shop the High Street initiative. So I wonder if that isn't having some impact as well.
Yep. Good point.
That is what I wanted you to, that is exactly what I wanted you to put up there.
So Jeff, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to having him on a live stream soon, because he's always on. The guy's never off. Jeff says, may have missed this factor in the article. Does that down number exclude BOPUS? And that is buy online, pick up in store, for those of you unfamiliar with that acronym. I saw tons of store inventory tagged and awaiting pickup in otherwise empty stores. My sense is that lots of merchandise was going out the door, Target, Best Buy, Macy's, while in-store shopping was dead. I think that makes sense.
So good point on this article and on other articles, because I couldn't find the number in this article. I searched several other reports, and there is no report on actual retail sales. So what they've reported is traffic. So that is foot traffic, Jeff, and that's an excellent point, because the numbers aren't in on retail register sales,
right?
And frankly, even the sales at online retail are an extrapolation. I didn't want to go into the depths of how that works, but it's an extrapolation on an extrapolation on an extrapolation, but it'll come out fairly close. But because they haven't reported actual dollar sales in the stores, we'll see what it looks like. And I think that there probably will be some impact of curbside pickup and in-store pickup.
Agreed.
But I still think it was going to be pretty substantially down. I don't know if everyone remembers, but back in the summer, early fall, we were predicting something like a 14% decrease in retail sales. Don't quote me on that, but it was somewhere in that range,
right,
for holiday. So we'll see how holiday sales shake out.
Yep. A couple of final comments, and we're going to move right along. Chris says, e-com shipping errors. How can it be? I think he's
never happens.
Sarcastic. Tom says this is going to have huge implications for small retailers who are not set up for online sales. Agreed. And that's been biting them for months now, if not years. So David here is elaborating on his point, and then we're going to move to the next story. David says, we're seeing a lot of backlash from small business owners complaining about big box retailers allowed to be open for essentials like pharmaceuticals, grocery. However, they also sell non-essentials, toys, games, clothing. So we have seen some box stores having to block off aisles with non-essential items, as they can only sell essential items.
Yeah.
I think is what he meant to say there. So interesting, very interesting there. All right. So we're going to keep just a fascinating time from a retail standpoint and certainly e-commerce standpoint, and a lot of good observations shared from our audience. Let's talk about this Amazon story, sticking with e-commerce. So this comes from Annie Palmer over at CNBC. Hey, they were really bringing the goods here lately.
They were
evidently.
obviously, yeah, paying
So
attention.
That's right. Amazon is bracing for a continued surge in online orders. As this article points out, and along some of the numbers that you're reporting, Greg, online sales this holiday season are expected to be a whopping 33% higher than last year. God, that is massive given just the scope.
It is, but Scott, still, that doesn't come close to the amount of billions that have been sold in person in retail. So that's a number that we've continually had mitigated with that statement over the years, right?
Good point. So Amazon is highlighting their giving a little extra communication juice to the opportunities for its customers to pick up their orders from a variety of locations, including brick and mortar bookstores and contactless pickup points, also known as Amazon hubs. Now, Greg, if you remember, we had a really convenient experience way back when it feels like 10 years ago, but it was about a year ago out in Austin. We had to have a piece of equipment. We took the van all the way out to Austin, Texas for a supply chain conference and was missing a key. Can't remember exactly what it was, but we had Amazon send it to the Amazon hub right in front of the gas store next to the hotel we were.
Yeah.
And it worked just like a charm.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're really encouraging a lot more of that. And of course, they may be, even though they deny it, they may be looking for a few advantages related to customer pickup, namely avoiding that labor-intensive and costly final mile delivery.
Yeah, of course.
But the company,
and they know as it gets closer to Christmas that that it will become more difficult for them to fulfill that delivery promise. And I think we've gone a bit back to the old days in e-commerce where they're saying it's going to take 7 days, but it really takes 5. I mean, you see a lot fewer one-day delivery items now. Yep. Not that I'm shopping for anybody right now. But you do see a lot more extended, and have for about a month seen a lot more extended delivery times.
So the company says, don't fret that Amazon's supply chain infrastructure is ready. They point to increased transportation capacity, ramped up warehouse staffing, and optimized fulfillment center footprints. But still, if you look past Amazon, you look at what FedEx and UPS is warning, right? Folks need to order early, and they're talking about, just how big of a challenge that this online surge is going to be. So mixed signals. But, I was going to wrap up that segment by asking you, Greg, if you and Vicky have all your orders in, but you've already kind of answered some of that.
Well, we haven't got all of them in, but we have got many of them in. And let me assure you that we're aware of what our options are. And by the way, to go back a couple points in that article, don't think that Amazon, let's talk about UPS and FedEx and the Postal Service. The entire reason that Amazon has a logistics department that has their fulfillment fulfilled by Amazon is because they have been so widely failed by the big carriers since 2014. In 2014, they said enough's enough. They started creating their own fulfillment and warehousing and distribution network, and off they go. But note the wording here. They're saying you can count on Amazon. Now, those other guys, we don't know. And that a lot of their goods are still shipped by FedEx, not so much by UPS anymore, but they're still shipped by FedEx. So they're applying a little plausible deniability in advance of a issue.
All right. So a lot of good stuff there. Fascinating. The communication behind the communication is always interesting. Let's share a couple quick comments here. Michael Avra says, and Mike, hope this finds you well, I would imagine sales are up because ordering online has extra orders, different colors or sizes that would not occur in the in-person shopping experience.
Bracketing, right? Buying the next size up and the next size down. Yeah.
Amanda is elaborating on her experiences she has seen. She's had 2 orders with incorrect and altered tracking information with delivery confirmations that were, in fact, not delivered. So fake news there. I'm now still waiting on the actual delivery after arguing with customer service via chat in getting the order reshipped. Amazon, however, has delivered earlier than estimated delivery dates. Interesting. Tom says he's also seen Amazon doing early deliveries too. I suspect they're under promising and over delivering.
Yeah, I bet that's exactly what's happening as they've adjusted that.
Sneha says this is perfectly timed. I just got pickup requests from Amazon for 2 of my packages just yesterday.
You're welcome, Sneha. Whatever we can do to increase performance in the supply chain, we're here for you.
Now, Corinne has seen another thing, the opposite with Amazon. 2-day delivery has been taking 3 and sometimes 4 days. Interesting.
But wasn't Corinne at the beach for Thanksgiving? So really, that's a little bit more difficult, and it's hard to have sympathy for Corinne if she's at the beach, isn't it?
and gorgeous picture. She passed along one over to us. Let's see here. Nairobi says that she's been a victim of Amazon delivering earlier too. Some people would think that is good when Amazon delivers before, but not when it's a birthday gift and you want it to be delivered the exact date. Outstanding.
Gosh, think about that.
All right. So so clearly lots of passion and sentiment around these deliveries as to be expected. So we'll keep the conversation moving. And by the way, we're getting a little bit of feedback from folks that the video is frozen. I'm hoping it's not related, Greg, to our adjusting to go to full 1080p, but it could be. That might be a little.
That's right. Brought to you in 1080p, and maybe. Well, just let me just make a public statement here, Scott. Okay. You can always count on the supply chain network to be there for you. Comcast and those other guys, I don't know.
Well, I hope it's just a small glitch and that it gets back to normal. So y'all let us know. We apologize for any inconveniences there. All right. So really quick, we're gonna have to hit the story in super speed. But Clay has come back. The research team has come back. This is the 34th episode of the New Buzz and the 54th overall episode. So good, great work there, Clay. So great work.
Over a year total. Right. And over half a year on video.
Right. Wow. Pretty cool. All right. So I'm going to hit this really quick. So Fast Company, I love Fast Company. If you're looking for a new source of great information across the industry, including leadership and especially tech, you ought to check them out. This comes from Elizabeth Segrin over at Fast Company. And I'm going to give just the gist of this. Newell Brands, which you may know, Sharpie, Papermate, Mr. Coffee, Elmer's Glue, Rubbermaid. They just moved their headquarters back to Atlanta, by the way, # Supply Chain City. Their team of 300 designers is leveraging fresh eyes through students over at Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California. And the main thrust they're using these outside eyes is to help them design products with less plastic, right? Moving those efforts of attacking the 300 tons of plastic that we produce each year, and taking it out of the design completely, so you don't have to worry about recycling. You move upstream, and how can we design it out of the product? So they use 24 students and 6 teams from a variety of backgrounds. The students redesigned a variety of their key products, and this go around, Newell didn't buy the IP related to any of the designs, although they came really close with a redesign of the air freshener. But more importantly, and I'll wrap with this, Nate Young, who is their senior vice president of design over at Newell, he said, quote, millennial and Gen Z consumers think differently from older generations. They expect sustainability to be baked in from the start. What's wonderful about working with these designers is that they're also consumers, and they bring that mindset to the projects they do for our brand. So, even though it didn't lead to a successful redesign that Newell bought and students made a little bit of money for their expertise, it will eventually. And better yet, I just love the approach. We need to be doing a lot more of that. I hope more and more corporations take the page out of Newell's book and reach out to these bright young minds. Greg, we've seen it here in the Atlanta area with the Savannah College of Art and Design, I believe, right?
Yeah. And so many organizations trying to do the right thing. Right. I think if there's anything that awareness brought to the supply chain is a boon. Strangely, Scott, we were talking about the changes of product mixes and that sort of thing over the over the holiday, and one of the top, violent discussions was Taco Bell and their decision to opt out of certain products, and the way people have responded to the loss of, I think, Mexican pizza. Their argument being it took too much packaging. And then subsequently, one of my daughters brought home Taco Bell, and I thought, how much more packaging could it be than this? There's still a long way to go.
Yes.
And we do, I don't know if everyone else does, but we have taken to examining how things are shipped and packed in our deliveries. And it's a constant this point of discussion here in the White household anyway.
Well, a lot of good stuff there. Love the approach, love students, love the bottom line impact they can have.
Yeah.
It's a great way of leveraging that huge resource. Okay. So Greg, moving right along.
Yes.
We got a featured guest we're bringing into the stream, right?
Yes. Guy Courtin, the head of global alliances for Six River Systems from the 11th arrondissement of Paris.
Wow. Great.
Hey.
Impressive. That was impressive.
I was practicing that in my head the whole time.
I love it. Guy, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
You
good
too,
to see
as
you.
well. So really quick, before we dive in, last time we connected, at least face to face, was Modex back in March 2020. It feels like 8 years ago. But we did a little 5-minute snippet with Guy. I always love his thought leadership and his point of view, and it's great to share some of that with our audience here on our the Supply Chain Buzz standing live stream.
Scott, thanks for having me here. Really great. And yeah, last time we saw each other, it was another lifetime ago. I think it was pre-apocalypse, and here we are. But no, really looking forward to it. And again, just so you guys mirror what you said, wish everybody a happy Cyber Monday. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and we certainly did here. Kept socially distant and kept to ourselves. So enjoyed it, and looking forward to back to normal times next Thanksgiving.
That is right. All right. So quick question before I pass the baton to Greg and we tackle a few headlines you've been tracking.
Yep.
First up, give us one good thing, one highlight from your weekend.
Just staying safe and spending time with my girlfriend here and our dog, and seeing my kid last week. And we twisted Thanksgiving around that you guys talked about not having our family here, and same thing. My parents stayed home, but it was we did what we could. My girlfriend made a great Thanksgiving spread, so certainly enjoyed it. And like you guys, we're still eating the leftovers, and I think we will for a couple more days. I think she cooked like it was a traditional Southern Thanksgiving. We would have all the family here, 20, 30 of us. But there's only 3 of us, so still eating it. I don't fit my suit coat, though. Surprisingly, I thought I would pop out of this today, but
that's good. You get your steps in around the home, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Love it. All right, so we got to get to work. So Greg,
yeah. So so Guy, I know you were in the green room, but I'm sure you got to listen. Black Friday and holiday shopping and that sort of thing is the topic of the day. So as we do that, let's talk about this Wall Street Journal article and what you're seeing, and maybe if you have any thoughts on what we had previously talked about, if you got to see that.
Yeah, no, and I think there's a lot of great points being made, Greg, and I think it touches upon some of the articles that we're going to talk about. And I think this one is sort of a good kickoff from that standpoint. Sort of encapsulates a lot of what you guys are talking about the fact that online sales are actually growing like crazy on Black Friday. So all of a sudden, does Cyber Monday count anymore, right? Is everybody just moving everything and shifting? And I think that speaks to a big point that we're seeing, or I'm seeing, which is, this notion of peak and promotions. We just have to look back. You guys talk about Amazon Prime Day. That's a big peak moment. Look at Alibaba in China with Singles Day. That's a big peak. So do we even have peaks? Is Black Friday count anymore? The Cyber Monday count anymore? We all have access. We all are pushed by retailers, consumer product companies to think of promotions happening all the time. And I think that's really interesting. And I think what this article points out too is an underlying current, which is with COVID, a lot of companies adjusted their inventory strategy and took a lot of inventory out of their supply chain to basically why? Because no one was shopping, everybody was quarantining for the past few months. So let's scale back the inventory. So now we don't have a glut of inventory to discount for a Black Friday type situation. So now what's happening is retailers like Abercrombie and Fitch and others are holding their line on pricing. And I think it's very interesting to see in a couple of weeks or at the end of the year how that impacts their revenues. Obviously, from an inventory standpoint, it's probably helping because they're flushing out the working capital and they're charging regular price for protecting margin. But does it also impact the top number? And I think that'll be interesting to see. I think the other two key points in this article, which I think you guys kind of touched upon, well, I just talked about two of them, but the last one I think is really interesting, which I think we all will also need to look at, is this notion of sort of a tale of two cities, if you will, right? There's a whole bunch of us which unfortunately have lost their jobs, are looking for the stimulus check. This is still, late to come. So obviously they're going to scale back their spending. Then there's another group which are seeing, hey, the stock market's going up, their house pricing is going up, they feel flush with cash, and all of a sudden they're saying, hey, things are good, let's go out and spend. And I think it's really interesting to see how that's going to impact, sales. And you guys mentioned some of the categories of what's doing well and what's not. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out the rest of this month and into next year.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah,
and Greg, I did like that element of the first article where you kind of went line by line, so to speak, and the different trends there.
Well, I think, we have to acknowledge that some of what Guy is talking about, we're already seeing. I mean, 71% of online purchases are made by mobile. And nowadays, instead of having to make a list and then go shopping, when someone gives you that brilliant idea for their Christmas gift, you just go to your phone and you try to find it and you shop right then, and you have it either shipped to your house or their house or whatever. And I think we are going to see a lot more of that. At the same time, we still do have peaks in e-com, and we do have I'm sure there was more. Your area, Guy, in the Northeast, much more heightened restrictions in terms of gatherings. So it did see a significantly greater amount of online shopping than even here in the South, where we have much more lenient gathering requirements. Yep,
absolutely. But I think what's also interesting, and we'll talk about this, it sort of bleeds into this headline. I think, Greg, you mentioned this too, and some of the people on mentioned this too, is the whole notion of BOPAC and BOPIS, right? And I think that absolutely, going to play a big role. And I think it'll be interesting to measure those numbers, right? Yes, I'm buying my stuff, to your point, Greg. I'm looking at my phone, I'm finding the best price, I'm going to buy it. Am I going to the store to pick it up? Am I having it sent to a locker or another meeting spot to pick it up? But then what are some of the ancillary purchases I make based on that, right? I always look at sort of an interesting example with Kohl's, right? And everybody thought they were crazy doing returns for Amazon, but they're showing good numbers where people, I'm returning stuff from Amazon. Oh, and I need to buy this. I'm at Kohl's, so I'll just buy it from Kohl's anyways. So I think that we're going to see the potential sort of knock-on effect from some of this BOPAC and BOPIS to see, hey, is there more ancillary secondary sales that come from it? Because I'm ordering something on my phone, I'm going to pick it up, and I'm there, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I forgot AA batteries. I'm going to walk in the store and get it. And then, hey, we're all, creatures of, we're all 5-year-olds. We see a shiny object and we buy the batteries and we see, oh, there's something else. I'm going to grab that too. And I think that leads us to the second article, which I think really you guys mentioned already, which I think is spot on, is this whole notion of the ability to fulfill, right? The ability to deliver. Mm-hmm. That's the part. And we mentioned Amazon, but I think there's plenty of other players out there that are trying to meet this. And I think it's really interesting, sort of the underlying story this tells us, which is, I've always argued this, or at least recently argued this a lot, which is the fulfillment aspect is just as part of the experience as the price, as the options, as the color and all that. How you fulfill the order becomes an integral part of that experience. And if you can't do it properly, then you're going to lose that customer. Right? You're going to lose the customer's attention. You're going to lose the customer's wallet. And whether that means I can tell you, hey, it's going to be delivered in 2 days, or you can pick it up in the store, or it's available to promise, whatever that may be, right? These retailers and brands need to do this. And you guys mentioned this and you're spot on. Yes, FedEx, UPS, USPS, DHL, they're being taxed. Obviously, folks like Amazon have their own fulfillment networks. But right. I think what we see is much more of this hyper-localized fulfillment last mile, right? You talk about folks like Rody, Bring, Sentiro, helping empower that. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that here in North America. You're seeing a lot of it in Europe. Why? Because there's not the big carriers there. And I think that's going to be huge, which is, I think this article really talks about, which is don't forget that, right? Don't forget the ability to fulfill that order, because if you Scott can go online, see the stuff, have the right price, have the right size, really happy, hits the buy button. And I'm like, Scott, you're gonna get this in 2 days. And guess what? 4 days later, it's still not there. And I don't even know what it is, right? It's not even that it's not there. You go online and say, where is this? I'm like, hey, Scott, I don't know where it is. It's between here and Topeka. And you're like, what the hell, dude? Like, that's not acceptable.
Well, 2 quick comments here. You mentioned Rhodey. Rhodey's got a great tie-in here to Atlanta, and it's mentioned in this article. Fascinating business model and some of the partnerships they're doing, like with the Deltas of the world. And then secondly, God bless any of our community members that are looking for any kind of replacement for parts for their appliances, because you want to talk about some where the breakdown in supply chain is really taking place is in these replacement parts. Holy cow, we had a dishwasher offline with 3 little kids for 2 months. And when I first, when Amanda first told me it was down, I'm like, well, that won't be too bad. It's worse problems to have. Holy cow, it's a life changer. But anyway, the service parts industry has been disrupted dramatically. What Guy, when you based on these 2 articles and really the overall discussion we're having here today, and you think about what lies ahead when it comes to peak and this, as we talk about this historic amount of demand that we're seeing, what else really stands out to you? What else do you think maybe we'll be talking about, say, a month from now?
Yeah, I think I talked one of the aspects is this hyper localized last mile delivery. I think the other aspect, and I think this is what I'm seeing in my current role is the use of more automation within the fulfillment network. Now, obviously, well, not obviously, but for us at 6 River, right, it's all about within the warehouse, but I just want to look at it across the fulfillment network. So in the warehouse, last mile, I think you're seeing folks like FedEx and DHL in Europe testing out drones or autonomous vehicles to deliver that last mile. I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see also a third aspect, which is, and I think one of your participants mentioned this. I think she talked about, hey, I wanted something in 2 days and they got it here earlier. That's not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
It's this notion of being hypersensitive to us, the consumer, as to when we want the product delivered. And I think that is going to require a certain muscle to be exercised by delivery companies, by retailers, by CPG, that they're not ready to do yet, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We've been sort of trained, rightfully or wrongfully, like it's got to be here in 2 days or 2 hours or else it's bad. And I always use the example, my girlfriend and I once, a couple of years ago, we ordered a rug. This is when she was still in Atlanta. And, we ordered a rug and we were going away for a couple of days and they were so excited. It's like, well, we got it to you in 2 days. I'm like, no, we're not home. Like, I'd rather you give it to me in 10 days when we're going to be home. But it just sat outside in the rain and all that. And it was fine. But still, it's one of those things about, I think we're going to start seeing more and more of this demand upon our supply chain to be more responsive to our needs as consumers as to, hey, when do you fulfill the order? Where do you fulfill it? And how do you fulfill it? Right? I think that is something that we have to get away from this. Hey, it's got to be here in 2 hours. I think part of it, to be honest, too, is we didn't touch upon it. And I think, well, actually, what you did touch upon is sort of the environmental side of things, right? The sustainability side. I think it's going to play a big role where, could we say to people, hey, can you hold off for a week to get your stuff? Because then I can consolidate that shipment. I can reduce the carbon. I'll knock off 2% or what have you. Absolutely. I think we're going to see more of that. So I think in a month, 6 months, maybe this time next year, we're going to look back and say, hey, we're seeing much more hyper localized delivery. We're going to see a lot more of the automation within the fulfillment network. And I think we're going to see much more sensitivity as to what we as consumers want in terms of when that fulfillment happens. It won't be a one size fits all, like, hey, we have to chase that 2 hour delivery time frame. It's going to be, well, what do you need? Mr. and Mrs. Consumer, what do you need? When do you need it delivered? And oh, by the way, where do you need it delivered? And we'll work to make that happen.
Love it. And we could talk for hours and hours, Greg, about one of our favorite topics, which is automation and robotics. That's really fueling the ability for supply chain to meet these surging e-commerce demands. There's so many fascinating use cases, and really love what the 6 River Systems team is doing to help make that happen. And Guy, thank you Greg, we have a variety of guests that come on here, and and they'll take that opportunity to go hard on a pitch. But Guy, I really appreciate you kept it agnostic, focused on industry, despite all the cool things that your team is doing. And that is a sign, my friends, of a true professional, Greg.
Well, and I think a true expert, frankly, because Guy, the point that you made essentially is that it is the consumer's responsibility. If we want better performance, more sustainability in the supply chain, and those sorts of things, it comes from us first. And I have to tell you, Guy, I don't know if you've seen it this way, but I think after we had the shiny object of 1 and 2 day and 2 hour delivery, I think people are starting to get a little bit more practical about it. Amazon tried to guide us with Amazon delivery days, and and other companies that you might order from frequently do similar things, and that's not uncommon, right? If you own a restaurant, you don't get delivered from Cisco every single day,
right?
Unless you're massive. But Scott might be able to address that directly. But in any case, I think we have to, as consumers, recognize that we need to really think about what kind of delivery do we need,
right? Because
it's we who set the tone for the fulfillment, right? I mean, Amazon didn't invent 2 day delivery. Right. They acknowledged and they fulfilled a latent need and a latent desire that consumers had, and that's how they gained advantage. And
Greg,
at some point, we need to be a bit more reasonable, I think.
Love that. I mean, we should accept that as a challenge. Get fewer boxes. Goodness gracious, get fewer boxes. And, do you really need that 6-pack of socks, tomorrow? I mean, really, I love that point you're making, Greg, because we do it ourselves in many ways.
Yeah.
All right. So we got so much to tackle. I'm really excited about this next topic we're going to dive into with Guy, but really quick, got a lot of comments here that I can't share all of them, but so David says, hey, see, 3 kids, that's 3 extra dishwashers you had laying around.
Good
Agreed.
luck.
Yeah, agreed. Tom, of course, we want to mention your new climate change podcast. I think we've got a link to that in the show notes. And I believe Corinne and Tom are working on a joint episode coming up. So look for that. Let's see here. Amanda says, Guy is spot on. Timely fulfillment leads to customer loyalty. I'm living proof. I order from those with a reliable delivery and won't order from those who don't come through. Agreed there. Let's see here. Jeff says, a lot of inertia and culture to reverse. Even terms like time definite delivery are defined as not later than instead of not earlier or later than.
That's an excellent point.
It is. Sneha says 2-hour delivery is crazy. I see Costco has been doing it for groceries during the pandemic. Wow.
Well, sorry, Scott, I just jumped in.
Yeah.
A great comment, and I think it's well made. I think we need to differentiate also between, like your point, that pack of socks, maybe I don't need it right away. The groceries, perishables, right? All of a sudden now there's a time sensitivity associated.
Right.
So I do think we have to be cautious about segmenting what we need delivered on time and what we need in 2 hours or what we can wait. And I think the grocery, and I think it's interesting. That's why, one of the trends that I've been seeing too is this whole micro fulfillment side. A lot of it's being led by grocery. Why? Because, hey, Scott, you got your 3 kids, they're hungry, you got nothing to make them food, and all of a sudden like, oh man, I'm gonna make pizza. Well, you need the dough, you need the sauce and all that. I can't wait till tomorrow. Kids are hungry, right? So I need it within 2 hours. But maybe that G.I. Joe, the Kung Fu grip for the kids, I could wait a week for it to come in. Right. So I think we can balance that. And I think it's a great comment, though, about the grocery size. I think that's a whole other can of worms from a delivery standpoint.
Agreed. And quick comment there. I'm sure Walmart is looking to leverage their leadership when it comes to the grocery business to get more into the non-grocery e-commerce business. That's an interesting continuing case study. I think this is Rhonda. I want to close out this segment with this comment here. I believe this is Rhonda Bumpinza Zimmerman, and I apologize. We got a little glitch with LinkedIn, but she says honest communication goes a long way, especially now. That is certainly a commentary that's very relevant to e-commerce, but also I think in the grander picture. All right, so let's move right along. We got some bad news last Friday that shocked a lot of people. And we learned that Tony Shea had passed at the age of 46. And long story short, from what the facts are, as they slowly come out, unfortunately, there was a house fire. He was injured. He was saved from the structure, but he succumbed to those injuries last Friday. So, it's amazing. We're not going to do Tony's story and his impact and his thought, his just his incredible, bright, innovative, transformative mind justice in a little bit of time we've got here. But Guy, I know we're kindred spirits. I know you've admired both Zappos and Tony from afar. I'm going to read this quote, and then I'd love to get your, what's one aspect of his legacy that you really find the most compelling. But really, first, this quote really stands out to me. He said, "Your personal core values define who you are, and a company's core values ultimately define the company's character and brand. For individuals, character is destiny. For organizations, culture is destiny." Tony Shea. All right, so Guy, when Tony Shea and the Zappos story comes to mind, what's one big part of his legacy that you find compelling?
Yeah, first, it was, obviously shocking, gone well before his time. I think a couple of things. First, the quote you just gave is spot on, Scott. I think when we look at someone like Tony Shea, you realize, while incredibly successful and, quirky, but some really great ideas, not seeking the limelight, right? Not someone that we think of in the Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk worlds. But in my opinion, I think what he's done or what his impact has had in terms of retail and supply chain and the way we think has been as big, if not, maybe not bigger, but has been on par. And I think he certainly has been underserved in terms of people looking at him and studying him from the standpoint of saying what he did at Zappos truly changed and redefined a lot of aspects of our supply chain. What you guys just talked about is spot on. I think he was at the forefront of that. It's all about us, the customer, right? We dictate, we set the pace, right? And I think at Zappos, he showed that he understood that. He listened to the customer at an ultra high level. I think his usage of automation in the warehouse to deliver products. I think his understanding of things such as, hey, the call center in the warehouse shouldn't be outsourced. Those are key components to the experience I provide. Who? The customer. Right. And I do everything I can in my power to control those to make sure that the customer, when she orders the product, is going to be wildly satisfied with the product and the experience that she gets in ordering a product from me. And that has reverberated across all of retail, supply chain, CPG, all our businesses. And I think from that standpoint, he deserves all the credit in the world, if not more, for what he did in terms of bringing together this business, Zappos, which in my opinion is we talk about a lot, but I think it should get even more credit for changing the way we approach supply chain, retail, customer service, the digital consumer, right? A whole host of aspects that the three of us love talking about and we see every day and we kind of take for granted now. But you rewind back to when Zappos came, man, it was, you mean you're gonna, like you said, Greg, you're gonna bracket and send me, a size 10, a size 10 and a half, a size 11 shoe with 3 different colors, and oh, by the way, keep them as long as you want. Like, what? Like, are you serious? What do you mean?
Crazy. Guaranteed overnight delivery. Gave up a 1-year return policy as long as the items were near new and had the original box. And that's just, as we all know, we're just scraping the tip of the iceberg. Greg, what are some of the things that stands out to you here?
Well, I didn't even know who Tony Shea was until this happened, frankly. But I did have the opportunity to read about him this weekend. And I think the important thing is, to me, of what I took away is how much he did outside the office. He made a $310 million commitment to downtown Las Vegas, moved Zappos into the former, at the time, abandoned City Hall of Las Vegas, and undertook this incredible initiative to reinvigorate a portion of the city that had been virtually forgotten and abandoned. And that's just a small portion of what he did. So, aside from what he did from a professional standpoint, I think what's really admirable about Tony is what he did as a human being and a philanthropist.
Yeah, great. Well said. That's an important charge and responsibility you have as leader of an organization is finding that practical way, that impactful way of giving forward, as you've coined it, Greg, and that's important to us here at Supply Chain Now. One last thing, and we're gonna have to set up just an entire live stream around Tony's legacy,
Probably.
but yeah, seriously. But one of the cool things we're doing, we built our latest episode of This Week in Business History, which dropped today, where I dove into more of Zappos and Tony's backstory. You know, I thought I knew Zappos, Guy, but going back and revisiting some of those things, it was just a very rewarding research project over the weekend that I enjoyed. But y'all check that out wherever you get your podcast from. And if you check out our This Week in Business History LinkedIn group, and we've got a post on there from yesterday where we're asking for, just like we asked Guy, hey, what's the one aspect of Tony's legacy that really is important to you? If you drop your comments in there, we're going to be giving away 5 free copies of his book, which is a great book, Delivering Happiness, that he wrote back in 2010, if you participate. So y'all check that out. So Guy, always a pleasure. This reminds me of our time at Modex, where we jumped in the good old corner booth that we had, Greg, way back when, and it was a rock and roll conversation. I think we still have a 5-minute snippet of some of the things you were sharing. And Guy, holy cow! If we knew then what we know, when we were so oblivious to where we were headed, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things, though, as you know, supply chain fans, I think we recognize that at the end of the day, what we're always trained for is disruption. But who could have imagined disruption at this scale?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I knew that we were going to enjoy the conversation we had with you. I really appreciate your approach and what you shared. So much goodness there. Greg, we knew what we were up for today, right?
Well, yeah. And I mean, you delivered 100%, Guy. I really appreciate it.
On time, not early, not late.
Yeah.
Just in time, baby. Just in time.
Yeah. And look, best to you and your team at Six River Systems and your family. Hopefully you get to see them sometime around the holidays. Stay warm up there, would you? And keep your wisdom coming, man.
We're trying. We had snow already, but you know, it's New England in November. What can I say?
Right. Right. I think we may be sending a little weather your way after this weekend. So keep your eyes open and your snow shovel handy.
Hey, thanks so much, Guy.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Love it. And stay safe. Have a great holiday for everybody. And we'll talk soon. $1
we forgot, Guy, the $1 trillion question here. How can folks connect with you?
Oh, yes. So, you know, follow me on Twitter. It's at GCOURTIN. Or you can just email me directly at 6 River. So it's just, again, GCOURTIN at 6river.com. It's
just that easy. Well, thanks so much, Guy. I think we've got your LinkedIn direct link in the show notes. Folks, Clay and Amanda, if we could drop some of those other ways in the comments, that'd be great. Guy, all the best. We look forward to talking with you again real soon.
Likewise. Love it, guys, and have a great week.
Yeah, thanks. Take care. Good talking.
You know, Greg, each time that we wave our guest out, it occurs to me that we're part of the 1% across the live stream community that does wave.
I was very conscious of that after I think we had a discussion on Tuesday about that, right?
Right.
Is that we are wavers, and apparently that's not cool. Well, I've got to wave for the people who thinks that's not cool, but I probably shouldn't do that on air.
Well, hey, if Greg White does it, it's cool. That's the rule of thumb I've learned going back a few years. So,
okay.
But what a great conversation. We knew, I mean, gosh, you can just, like you said, he is a thought leader. He knows his stuff. He's been there and done it. And it emanates from him as he's answering these questions and sharing, you know, what some of the things that should be on our radar.
I think what's really impressive is he's thinking about this as a consumer, as a supply chain problem solver, and not as somebody from a particular company. And I think that broad perspective is really, really valuable and frankly, really rare. I mean, a lot of people think about the world based on their very linear understanding of it. And to think of it from a more broad perspective like that is really mature.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've heard. I haven't really thought about that as it comes to some of these conversations we have here, but we have heard a lot about folks leading with their solution first, and across industry, not picking on any. I think it's inherent.
Yeah,
as someone that has sold things in my past and continue to sell things. Yeah. But that is what we need. That's what industry needs is folks that can break through that and really think, hey, what's the problem we're trying to solve first, regardless of what organization they're part of. So I love that element that was here in spades today. Okay. So let's I'm going to wrap on something here, Greg, before we call it a day, because you've got a big interview coming up that I believe we're publishing Thursday on Tequila Sunrise.
Yeah, that's right.
And, hey, tease us a little bit. What are we going to hear about?
Yeah. So talk about thought leaders in the industry. John Sicard, who is CEO of Kinaxis, which is a $5 billion valuation public supply chain technology company. We've been talking to people who have just started their companies or just brought their companies out of stealth. Sarah Barnes Humphrey with Ships, and we've talked to people who've been in the industry for a long time, like Kevin Jackson from NASA, and this is a great progression through the thoughtful, mindful, and experienced and talented people that we're bringing, and John is no exception. A programmer first, believe it or not, and just happened to fall into supply chain, and I'm pretty thankful for it. So we've titled this because John and I had a spirited discussion about what's good and bad and can be improved in supply chain tech and in supply chain in general. We're calling it violent agreement. Because you got two really opinionated folks in there, and John is no shrinking violet. If he has a thought, you're going to get it, and spot on in my experience. So it's a 2-part episode interview with John, about 40 minutes each time. So for those of you who have compelled me to keep it under 45 minutes so you can do your exercise, right? Because you don't want to exercise more than 45 minutes at a time. Because you're not an NFL player. But really, yeah, please listen to Tequila Sunrise this Thursday and next Thursday and every Thursday. I mean, last Thursday, I think we did a classic episode about So You Want to Be in Supply Chain Tech, which I think if you're in supply chain tech, you're an investor in supply chain tech, or just an interested observer, it's a great lead in as you get ready to listen to this episode from John, but do listen up.
And we make it easy. I think we've got the link to subscribe to Tequila Sunrise in the show notes, so that it'll be there waiting for you on Thursday morning, like a early holiday gift. So y'all check that out. If for some reason you can't find what you're looking for, of course, you can go to supplychainnow.com, where we are serving as the voice of supply chain to really amplify what goes on across the global supply chain industry. It's just amazing. And it's really neat. The one silver lining of all this, Greg, is the attention the industry's gotten here during this historically challenging year of 2020. Okay, one other thing I wanted to highlight. You mentioned Supply Chain Classics, Supply Chain Now Classics. We released a few of those over the Thanksgiving holiday. Gosh, as I was going through, because I had to put a prefacing statement on each of them, and I was going through and kind of refreshing my own memory of those episodes. Holy cow. Sherika Sanders was named the 2017 Hidden Figure for Dallas. Talk about a rocket scientist. I mean, she worked at NASA. She worked during the Columbia disaster, right, where the tiles broke down on the reentry of the space shuttle. She was part of the project that was figuring out how to fix that. And as she presented her findings to the NASA team, she described the response that she got, and she basically had a job offer waiting for her as she left the podium. I mean, just a brilliant doesn't even do it justice. Just an incredible individual and professional that is determined to give forward. That mentor gives all the time she doesn't have, right? She gives that back to mentoring girls at the elementary school, middle school, and high school stage. So those are the type of people we need in our industry, that society needs, and that we need to put on a pedestal as a role model. And to sit down and spend an hour with her was very rewarding. So y'all check that out. Amanda and Clay, I don't know if y'all could drop a link to that in the notes, but you'll be a better person by listening to Sherika Sanders and her POV. Greg. All right. So I think that's all. That's all I've got on my show notes for today's edition of The Buzz. How about you?
Seems like we jammed a lot into an hour, doesn't it? I mean, it feels like we went Black Friday shopping today, right?
Yeah.
We experienced
firsthand.
Firsthand, no doubt. So yeah, I mean, it's that time of year. A lot is going to happen. As I said, the die is cast. Whatever will be at this point. But
that's right.
My suggestion is buy responsibly, buy carefully, and buy now.
Great advice to wrap up on, for sure. A couple quick comments from the audience. Rhonda, I appreciate that. Veteran Voices. We've had some outstanding conversations as we look to, spotlight the members of our veteran community. That's excellent there. Appreciate that. Sneha says, yes, I love the episodes with Greg, but without a shot. So no shots of tequila.
She's not taking a shot, or I am not taking a shot.
I think we need to fix that. Both of y'all take a shot.
Yeah.
Monday morning.
Hey, just a quick thought. Kevin Jackson, when I interviewed him, he was like, hey, how come you didn't offer to get me to take a shot? I'm like, you're a military dude and you work in the government. I didn't think you drank tequila. So I'm going to have to stop by his place in Virginia and have a shot.
That's right. We're going to have to fix that. Gary, appreciate that comment there. Looking forward to your guest appearance on This Week in Business History as Gary takes a deeper dive into the Wright brothers, which has a big anniversary coming up in December. Tom, appreciate your comments throughout today's live stream, and congrats on your newest climate change podcast. T Squared says Guy's offer proposition was groundbreaking. Love that, Guy. Let's see here. I think we're just about caught up. David really appreciated Guy's insights as well. I agree. I think, I love our 20-minute featured guests on these live streams and what they bring, because it seems to be complimentary perspective, Greg, but also some curveballs that they kind of take the conversations in different tangents,
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I think all perspectives are welcome, right?
Agreed.
So you learn the most from sharing with people. So
well, Sneha says, I'm not taking a shot. You can have yours. Well, hey, Sneha, we're just glad you're back with us. We appreciate what you contribute to these live streams. And on that note, we the community that shows up and shares perspective. I really wish we could share each and every observation. It's tough to do that and feature our guests and tackle news, but we do our best, take our best hack at it. But doing what y'all do and what you bring to these live streams is so very rewarding. We should say hello to Demo Perez. Demo, hope this finds you well. Looking forward to your appearance with our friend Enrique Alvarez very soon. Fred Tolbert is with us, Greg. Holy cow.
Wow.
Feeling the holiday buzz. Love that, Fred. Okay. Well, so we better call it a day. Really, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for bringing your POV and your perspective today. Hey, if there's one thing you remember throughout the whole show here today, it's our challenge to you. Not only Greg's earlier challenge of, hey, consumer, you're a big part of global supply chain. Make those decisions very consciously and deliberately. If you don't need it tomorrow, if you don't need it in 10 extra boxes, think about those things, because it has a huge impact. I love that, Greg. Great challenge. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, hey, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. Be like Tony Shea. And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.